Knock, knock.
Who's there?
It's Trevor Pickett.
Trevor, welcome to the show. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Gareth. Good to see you guys.
I'm here too. Hey, Trevor, how are you?
Hey, Nicky. Good to see you.
We are here. We're all here. And for anyone listening, won't be able to do this today. But for anyone watching, we noticed that me and Trevor have matching, fetching Nock Academy t-shirts on. Very nice. Yes, there we go. All puffed out chest and all.
And I didn't get the memo.
No.
But okay,
Nikki
what else?
didn't get the t-shirt memo, but that's okay. We'll let her off. She's here, so that's all that matters. So yes, welcome to the show. Welcome everyone tuning in again for another episode of Knock Knock. Who's there? We appreciate you tuning in and listening. Today we're going to have a great show. We are talking to Trevor. Now, Trevor is a outstanding fitness professional and educator, and we are very honored to have him as a coach at the Nock Academy. So that's just one of the hats he wears. As well as being a CanFit Pro trainer, a fitness professional personal trainer, group coach, all round amazing individual. So we're glad you're here, and we're going to dig into some great topics. We are going to be talking a little bit about kind of the business of fitness today. And we're going to be talking a little bit about how kind of planning and forecasting and how you build that long-term business or career within the fitness industry. And I think a great place to start that, Trevor, is for you just to tell everyone a little bit about your kind of journey, you know, the Coles Notes version of where you started and where you got to now with your business, you know, throughout COVID and throughout all the changes, and for you moving to another province and a lot of things that kind of looped into that. So yeah, kick us off with a little bit of the backstory, and then we'll dive into the business of that from there.
Right on. I love that you use Cole's Notes too, because I when I'm teaching, I'll be like, I'm going to give you the Cole's Notes version, and all the people that are like younger than 30 all look at me like, what the heck's
What?
what's Cole's Notes, man? So hopefully they pick up on this. But yeah, I started about 10 years ago. I had a previous career. I was a production assistant for about 3 years in film and TV. And that was a pretty good onboarding for this business actually. But yeah, decided to leave that, and did like a lot of us. I went did my CanFit Pro, and pretty much a couple months after that, I left my job and was just like launched into it,
Yeah.
which was kind of interesting. I mean, I always tell my students I was eating beans for a long time, meaning like, surviving.
Mhm.
Uh, but yeah, I kind of started I did a couple years. I started my own business right off the hop. It was a mobile training business, going to people's homes and stuff like that. And then I started doing group fitness. My mentor, shout out to Una Duncan, she convinced me to become a CanFit Pro trainer. And that it took some convincing, and I really wasn't sure about it, but it ended up changing my whole career basically. It set me on this whole path to not just training folks, which I still do, still love, but sent me down the education rabbit hole, and that was about a little over 7 years ago now, and yeah, I haven't really looked back. I guess more recently, fast forwarding through, just like everybody else, 2 years ago, almost to the date, everything shut down, and just like everybody else, I found out I was out of work for about 3 months, which was terrifying. At the time, my partner and I, we lived at our little house in Hamilton, Ontario. And yeah, I was kind of like, I don't know what the heck's going to happen. I started writing my own course during the downtime, just because I had all these notes spread out from years of just logging during group classes and stuff like that. And finally actually had the opportunity to sit down and start piecing that all together into a CEC course. And then CanFit Pro, we as you guys know, they decided that we could start teaching our course via Zoom. And I actually am very proud to be the first one in Canada, first PTS Pro trainer in Canada to teach it online, which was pretty crazy. It was terrifying again. Uh, But it worked out, and it's as you guys know, it's exploded. I think it's just as good, and sometimes I think it's just as effective as the in-person course. So it's been amazing. But during all this, we decided to sell our house in Hamilton. I was getting a little, I don't know, it was just felt like the right decision since I could sort of work from home now. My partner could work from home as well. So her and I sold our house, and in June we moved to Sable River, Nova Scotia, which is a town of about 600 people, I think. Um,
It's smaller than Hamilton, just a tiny
A little
bit.
smaller, yeah. So yeah, we live out like 2 hours west of Halifax, and uh, basically in the middle of nowhere. But it's been a journey. So yeah, I mean, I can still do everything. I'm chatting with you guys right now. So yeah, and just recently I got an awesome job working for the Nock Academy. I'm really excited about.
Yes.
So yeah, so I guess that's, I don't know. I guess that's a decent Cole's Notes.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Story
Yeah.
of my life.
And for anyone watching, will see the horrible view that you now have from your new home in the Sable
Yeah.
River. For anyone that's listening right now, we're staring out of Trevor's window into the
River, I
the
guess.
river,
That is
Sable River.
true.
Yeah, right behind you. Yeah, it's quite gorgeous, and we're quite envious. That was a great Cole's Notes. I love it, and it really paints a picture of kind of that journey, through career change and into fitness, and then finding education, which I love. And you really embrace all those different parts of it, which I love. And funny enough, you mentioned Una. So yes, shout out to Una. And I actually met you and Una on a course that I was teaching, which was many years ago, probably back there about 7 years ago.
Yeah.
So we're all kind of intertwined there through the world, and then into Camp Fit Pro. So yeah, no, it's a great story, and it really does. It kind of talks to your adaptability as well, right? And having to just kind of change things when you need to, and take on other areas of the business, and it allows you to have those multiple hats, if you like, within the industry, which encompass the business, which is what we're going to dig into and obviously talk a little bit more about today.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's kind of interesting. Anyone that's been in the industry for a while has had those moments, like you said, Trevor, of, what shall I do now kind of thing. And then start to diversify a little bit. And I think that is what may be necessary. I'm not going to say it has to be necessary, but we can unpack that today. I think that's what may be necessary to have that longevity in your career, right? Is to go down little different areas to kind of find what you're interested in at that time, and then maybe you go somewhere else, and you go somewhere else, and then that creates a well-rounded fitness professional, which then can lend their education, talents, skills to so many different things, regardless of where you are. Like, I want to touch on that as well. I think our industry in the last 2 years has been completely flipped on its head. You moved, we started a business, you elevated your business, right? So I think this is really the time in the industry to also be curious and look to diversify, and maybe reinvent yourself, or just add something on. Right now, I feel like is the right time. So way to go, you. Congratulations on stepping up, being resilient, and looking for growth in a time where it was challenging. Let's be honest.
Oh, terrifying, as I said. Yeah. I think maybe off the top of my head, one of the things that helps, I think, is like some people start their fitness business as their side hustle to their everyday job, even if that's not in the fitness business. And I think one thing and it was not intentional on my part or anything, but during my career, I started the fitness business as a little side hustle, and then I was like, okay, I really like this, and then I realized within my new side hustle, which was my new career, I needed more side hustles. Um, I mean, I'd like to say that the pandemic was the first time that I really found myself, kind of, my canoe flipped over, right? But no, I've had a lot of times where there's been, I've worked for a gym, and all of a sudden that business they go out of business or something. Okay. But having that, and like you said, Nikki, that diversification, having multiple incomes was my biggest lifesaver, because I'm like, okay, I don't have that job anymore, but I still have these two other jobs or these two other sources of income, coming in, because that's kind of, I don't know, I guess that's the reality of fitness and fitness business. Maybe it's the reality of every business, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I think so. And, there's probably certain industries where there is one sole focus and that's that, and they just do that one thing. But fitness
sure.
is not one of those arenas, in my experience anyway. And I think and it just kind of rolls with the seasons of life too, because, we all work in education or have worked in education. That's not a daily thing that's available unless you're a school teacher.
Yeah.
But, in regards to fitness education, it's not a daily thing. We don't have the demand yet in the fitness industry where we're non-stop educating people. It's going to be once a month, maybe we're running a course, or every couple of weeks, or a couple of times a year, depending on the course we're running. And that's where we need to support with those other things. And some of the best educators are truly the people that are on
Hmm.
the floor. So
Yeah, it's true.
we need to have all those kind of multiple things. And my belief is that the most well-rounded and the longest serving fitness professionals are those people that have multiple streams. Now, starting with, we'll dig into that a bit more, but starting with the personal training specialist course, or any other initial kind of entry level personal training courses that are available all over the world, depending on where you're listening, we generally, that's the start point for people. It's generally a prerequisite. It gets you in the door and gets you becoming a trainer, whether it's mobile or working for a gym. A lot of people will work in a gym. And what I will say is, although we're talking about diversifying, I think if you're a new trainer, there is so much merit to being in there on the floor, earning those coaching hours, because we don't truly become a great coach without putting in those hours. I mean, I've probably, I don't even 20,000 maybe in the last 20 plus years. You learn
Fair
it
few
there,
between
right?
us,
And
right?
it's good to notch up 5,000 of those in those first couple of years by just being in there and doing it. So I think there's a place for that. So I'd love to hear kind of your thoughts on that, and where maybe those entry level people come into trainings that yourself or someone else is running, and what kind of direction they generally take, or where you advise them to kind of make those first few steps.
Yeah, I mean, I think seeing the big picture is tricky at first, and by that I mean, like, doing this one thing is going to lead to something, amazing down the line. When I started out, like I mentioned, I had the benefit of having worked in film, which is a very tough business. It's an accountability business. Like, you really, you gotta have you gotta have your stuff together, or you're gonna get yourself in trouble. So, and to get into that business, I started as an intern. I worked for, a company for months for free, and the whole idea was is that I would get my foot in the door, and I wouldn't tell everybody that they have to go intern, or work for free even, but think about those opportunities. Think about how that experience you get is payment itself. Um, so actually, with Una's a good example. I remember, this is so long ago, but she had like a boot camp she was running, and I ended up seeing it in her newsletter. So I signed up as a client. Like, I signed up for the class, and she was kind of surprised. She was like, "What are you?" She remembered me from her Camp Fit Pro course. She was my pro trainer. She's like, "What are you doing here?" Like, that's kind of funny that you signed up for this. And I said, "I just want to watch and learn. I want to see how you do everything." And I remember my friends, they're watching me eating beans, and they're like, "Do you really have money to go spend on, you know, this thing that isn't going to pay? Like, you should be out making money right now." And I was like, "No, I should be out making experience right now." And so I went, and then, she was, she was doing her thing, and I just learned so much, just even watching from her doing group stuff. And then, she had another, I think she did like 8 week programs at the time. She was like, "Hey, you want to come out? You can come out for free. And, just, it's nice having you around and stuff." And so same thing. I stuck around, and then we started building our relationship. And then she said, "Okay, next one, you know what? I'm going to start paying you. You're going to be like my assistant coach type thing." And that set me, that's probably, if I had to pick one thing in my whole career that has probably paid the most dividends, is signing up to be a client in that class. Because I had this amazing mentor to help me, to guide me, but also I had, this networking opportunity. She's the one that convinced me to go do to apply for CamFit Pro and everything like that. So I agree with you, Gareth. That is the one thing that I didn't do that I tell my students pretty often. I said, if you can, get a job at a gym, because even if it's a short time, even if it's just a temporary thing that you do, it's the most valuable piece is just getting some experience under your belt. And I understand everyone's like, I want to be this person that's, making millions, making 20,000 a month.
When does that happen?
I don't know. Yeah. I said, if you figure that out, every time they said it, like, you figure that out, can you, keep her solid and let me know? But yeah, it's just gonna take time, and yeah, you gotta put in that little bit of time. And I mean, even if it is shadowing somebody, or just I used to do this thing where I would I still tell my students to do this. I don't know. I know people aren't really doing cups of coffee lately in coffee shops very often, but I used to, if I saw a trainer, if I saw their ad or something like that, like up on the subway wall or whatever like that, I would call them up or I'd email them and say, hey, can I like buy you a cup of coffee? And you just tell me, why you're so awesome, right? Because I'd see their ad, I'd be impressed by it, and I'd be like, wow, this person knows what they're doing. And most people will sit down with you and tell you why they're so awesome, because they're right? They're like, sure, yeah, sure. And yeah, I did that multiple times. That was huge, and huge networking opportunity. Made good friends from that. I remember one of those people that I asked for coffee. She ended up moving, I think, out west, and she just was like, Trevor, here's my clients. Like, she just handed them over to me because she was trying to, we had built this relationship. So yeah, I guess that's what I mean by that big picture piece, though, right? A small act that's going to lead to something really, really beneficial down the line.
Yeah, and I love that. And I think it's important. So many great takeaways, but the most important thing there is that you will hear many things. And we're big advocates of this in what we do in the business. Is we don't give away what we do for free, ever. And we give away some free content every now and then on certain things. We don't give away our kind of main things that we have as services for free. And a big reason for that is that we've got like 30,000+ hours of coaching and experience. So for us, I'm like, no, we're expensive, and there's a reason why we're expensive. However, we got here by doing exactly all those things that you spoke about. So it's important to see that and understand that the landscape that we view, especially on social media, is very different if you're a brand new trainer, and it is important. And anyone that's listening that's new in their career or is thinking about becoming a fitness professional in some capacity, just go back 3 minutes on this podcast and re-listen to it again and write down some notes, because there's so many great things there that you should be doing. You should be getting experience. You need to be coached, be a client. And this is why it's great if you do go into a gym, because guess what? If you go and get a job at the gym, you're going to get discount on services, or group fitness classes are going to be free, or you can just, hey, you know what? You can just stand around and watch other people coach their clients, as long as you let them know, because otherwise it's creepy. And network, because we're like, who's this creepy guy? Make sure you got like a name badge on, or whatever the gym requires of you. But being in that environment, not creeping around the leg press. So important, and networking is key. I'd love to ask you a question about this, because I think this is something where people would, and it was my reaction actually, and I'm listening, and I'm like a grown-ass adult, as I sometimes like to pretend. The thought of me reaching out to someone and say, hey, I saw your advert on the subway board and I'd like to buy you a cup of coffee, I instantly had this visceral reaction where I'm like, oh my God, I couldn't do that. So tell me how, I mean, I know it's simple that you just did it, and I'm assuming you just went out there and sent it, but how does somebody go about that? If somebody feels maybe fearful or thinks, oh, if I do that, this person's not going to want to talk to me, or they're going to have complete like imposter syndrome. I don't even know what I'm asking, but tell me more about that.
Well, I mean, I actually got the idea when I feel like I keep going back to this, but when I was in film school, I remember we had a project where we had to find like a film professional and interview them. And, it was like and I realized, I was like, this is a pretty good little lead up to getting to talk to people. So I did my assignment, right? I just think I did one of the producers that actually worked at the school. So that was kind of lame. He already had access. But I thought, the heck? Why don't I just email all of these people and say, hey, I'm this young, this young student, and I would love a chance to be able to talk to you. I have an assignment for school that I'm working on. Do you think you could spare half an hour? And I did that. I went over to CBC. I went to what was that show? Air Farce years ago, and they let me right in. I got to like interview the producers and everything because they're like, look at this cute little film student. And they were like, oh yeah. And I remember the guy saying to me at the end, he's like, I hope you get a good grade on your paper. And I was like, what? Because I forgot that it was a ruse. And he was like, your paper, oh yeah. And I had no paper. I got on the phone with the executive producer of Trailer Park Boys, was my favorite show at the time. Got that, and I'm talking to him, and same thing. I just said, yeah, I'm this. So what I think you could pull from that is people love a newbie. I love newbies. I'm sure you guys love newbies. And if you could even have a ruse. You could say it was an assignment for school. Email is easier because at least obviously you can craft it. I'm a person, I could spend an hour putting together an email because I want it to communicate perfectly. I'm like almost like obsessive about it. It has to hit perfectly. Not every single email, but those types to communicate. So I would just send it through email, and be prepared to be rejected. I'd send 10 emails, maybe one person gets back to me, but that's the one I want to talk to. I don't want to talk to the one that didn't really want to talk to me. So I don't really take it as a big slight if they're like, get out of here, don't bother me. I've had a few of those, but whatever.
Some of us are quite nice and do want to chat.
Yeah.
And I guess now I'm thinking about it, I guess podcasting is like the modern day equivalent of that. Because that's kind of what I do sometimes.
Yeah.
And anyone listening that's been a guest or is going to be a guest, maybe I only got you on because I wanted to pick your brains, but I just did it through a podcast. It was my assignment.
Exactly.
So there's just other ways of doing it. I use a podcast. You used your whatever, your paper. Yeah.
But you know what? If you don't ask, you don't get. And I also think that there's something to be said for the person that you're asking. Because I think, and I'm a big believer of set your ego to one side, but just for 1 second, I'm just going to get out of my yoga headspace. It does kind of boost your ego a little bit, but it also makes you feel proud that somebody has noticed you. Somebody has acknowledged your work. And sometimes in this industry, we do get very tunnel vision with our clients, especially in that one-on-one environment. Group tends to be a bit of a wider lens, but you do, get very all in with your clients, and you don't really recognize that you are being watched the whole time. And this is another conversation that we could go down about, that's how you get, your leads and your referrals. But what I'm talking about right now is, when you're in the zone with your client, don't forget people are watching. So for that moment, for somebody to say, I've seen you, or I've heard about you, and I want to learn from you, I think it's not just about helping the newbie, which of course is rewarding within itself, but there's that moment of, I have been noticed, and actually what I am doing is making a difference.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I would be lying if there isn't a little bit of ego there. Like I was joking around. Who wouldn't mind sitting down for an hour and saying, "Yeah, here's the 10 reasons why I'm awesome." Here you get your pen and paper out. But no, I think you're right though. At the very least, people, they feel acknowledged that way, and they feel, and maybe it's the first time somebody reached out to them and said, "Hey, I think you're doing a great job. I'd love to pick your brain for a few minutes." Yeah.
Yeah, everybody loves that recognition. How it's celebrated might be different individual by individual, but just that little, nod, thumbs up, I think goes a really long way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'd add to that as well. I think getting outside of your industry, even on that too, right, and learning things, and something that I wanted to ask as well, kind of offshoot from that, is with all the many things, and this is kind of jumping ahead a bit, but with all the things that you do, and with many fitness professionals that are looking for those multiple things throughout their career, or maybe as they build their career, is organizing that stuff is challenging. And that's something that we don't teach enough of in the fitness industry is the business skills. Like, how do you manage that business and how do you figure out what the year's going to look like? I've got 5 different fitness jobs. What's that look like on my schedule? Like managing that, like sometimes it's hard for people to manage a schedule of, I've got 5 clients in one day in one place and all coming to me. Some people struggle with that. So how do you manage that? And, maybe what tips and kind of skills have you developed over the years to allow you to do that from a business standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's tough. The thing that I remember talking to Natalie actually on her podcast about this was we're terrified to say no to anything in the fitness business, and I mean that makes sense, right? We just because when the opposite of busy is really scary. So. But I think if you get to a point, you do want to start every opportunity that comes your way, you really do have to vet a little bit. You have to stop and say, okay, is this going to be worth my time? Am I going to be able to seamlessly put this in to the schedule? Now, scheduling itself, I mean, I think it has to be a bit of a habit. I usually say like pick one day of the week, probably ideally, that you're just going to sit down and piece it all together. I mean, to Nicky's point, though, we're going to still have to be a ninja, be malleable because people change plans on us and stuff like that. But I have my day almost to the hour, typically, pretty much planned out. And that's all the other pieces, though, right? So let's say I want to add something to the business. So when I'm writing my course, right, I was putting together a continuing ed course. Okay, do I just throw everything aside and just, hunker down and write this thing? I could probably get it done a little faster that way, but then all my other stuff sort of falls by the wayside. So I schedule everything. I schedule my workouts, for my own personal workouts. I schedule when I'm going to take my dog out for exercise. Schedule when I'm going to sit down. And okay, the next 2 hours, there's no phone, there's nothing, there's me and the computer, and I'm sitting here writing. And then I do my own continuing ed stuff because I want that to lead to, to upgrade my resume as well. So I have, it's kind of like, I guess, when you're in school, right? You have to schedule, okay, every Thursday is my class that I take. And that's kind of how I've thrown it together. Yeah, I mean, sometimes curveballs come my way and the schedule goes to hell. But yeah, I try to be as organized as possible, picking at least one day a week. I try to be, one thing that really helps is, whoever's in your household, letting them know what's up as well. So my partner, like, she knows what my schedule is so that she hasn't, sort of scheduled something personal or something in there. So yeah, I mean, schedule wise, I wish I had like a glamorous, like, little trick, but really it's, I don't know. I'm one of those crazy people with lists too. I got one part of the list is ongoing tasks. Yeah. And everything is on that list because I will forget everything from, like, I like Instagram. I like social media. I think it's fun, but sometimes I could forget about it for a week if I really didn't need to. So I have, like, doing it, make sure you're still communicating, email, text this person, like all these ongoing tasks that are going to pop up every week. And then I have another list that is just one-off tasks. They could be personal tasks. Go get your snow tires. Go, I don't know. Go get some firewood or something. Out here, we got to do army sounding tasks. But yeah, all of those little one-off tasks. So that's kind of how I organize it. I got ongoing tasks and just singular tasks, like get that off. So yeah, sometimes the list gets a little crazy, but
that's okay. I like it. It talks to the habits and the repetition, right? We can relate that back to fitness too. Like, you get in a habit. It's repetitive. It's like movement. You have to be repetitive with your movement. You learn those skills. It's just like working on that list, working on that schedule, whatever it is you're doing, you have to implement that, right, as a non-negotiable thing in your day. And it's many reasons I like you, Trevor, and the fact that you like write those lists and your schedules by the hour is probably top of the list.
And I'm the other way around. I get anxious that there is a list. So anyways, no, I have a whiteboard that I write things on. And then I might erase them when anyway. So I want to go back to the newbie starting their career, Trevor, because you know you're heavily influential in this, in getting people, you know, into the industry through the PTS certification. So let's say that they've got their job at their first big box gym. How can they then begin to structure their week, their day? Because, you know, quite frequently, I'm pretty sure you hear things like, when do I do my programming? How many clients should I take? When do I train for myself? And when do I give myself opportunity to upskill? Because from my own personal experience, you just then end up, maybe it's because I don't have any lists, you end up just kind of spinning your wheels. And before you know it, it's Monday again. And you're like, oh, right. And you're kind of behind on that. So, you know, what kind of tips would you give to those like new people coming in so they can really set themselves up for success?
Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing that would qualify me for advice is the same thing. I've made every mistake in the book. Um, um, and I think probably what you said, Nikki, about kind of feeling like you're spinning your wheels by the end of the week, I've definitely been there. And probably the thing that would, I think, led me there was just trying to take on so much in the very beginning. And it kind of goes back to that fear of drought, right? Like you just get terrified there won't be any work. So you kind of, you take in everything you can. Um, Probably the biggest thing I tell everybody is that patience, just like any other business, is going to be absolutely key. Meaning that there is very few times where you're just going to walk into this and you're going to be a full-time trainer training, 9 to 5, no weird hours or anything like that, making your $50 to $100 an hour, whatever you're charging, and doing your thing. It just doesn't work out that way.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people would say, like, I only have one client. And I always say that's really good. If you've got one, that's pretty darn good, because you already have a great piece of advertising right there. When you get that one client, make sure they feel like the only client. You don't have to tell them they're the only client. Maybe don't broadcast that, but you should make sure that they feel, I mean, knock that client out of the park. I mean, you're texting them on your weekends. Hey, did you get your workout in? What's your, you are like all over it, because I don't care if you have the greatest social media, best, I don't know, YouTube channel or whatever. Referral, I still say, is the greatest way to grow your business. So to start off, that is the biggest key. Is if you've only got one or two clients, make them feel like they are the only clients, and then try to keep that mentality when you do have 50 clients, trying to make sure everybody feels like the only client. Trying not to get burnt out. I wish I was a better role model for that. I have definitely gone down that hole where I have completely burned myself out. Yeah. I remember in 2015, I got to a point where I was like gonna have a breakdown. Like I was working for one company. I was working for like 3 different gyms, doing my own clients. Started teaching for CamFit Pro a couple of years prior, so that was starting to pick up. And I remember emailing like all of the gyms I worked for. I did a group email to all of them, and I was like, I'm like, guys, I'm just so burnt out. You got to let me, back off a little bit. And all of them were super gracious. They're like, okay, cool. Why don't you just like, take half a day here and half a day there, and those types of things. So I guess probably what I learned from that, though, is that burnout can happen really darn quick. So like I said, you got to vet really, really carefully every opportunity you take. Make sure that it is something you can squeeze in. I mean, having too many clients is a great problem to have, but it is a problem, meaning that it will start to go down that hole of those people will start to feel left behind. And that's what it normally was the clincher for me, right? As soon as you get to a training session and you're sort of like, oh, I kind of hope they don't show up type stuff, that's when you know you are burning out, when you are like, okay, because you should be fired up to be there and be like, oh, I can't wait to see them again, and we're going to do this thing. and come in there. So yeah, when you start out, I mean, there's no perfect roadmap, but be patient. It's going to take a long time to grow. Get that one client and hang on to them for dear life. And that worked out for me. The first one was my first referral, referred one, and then that person, they referred another, and it was super, super slow eating the beans again, but it started me off, and when I could start paying my bills. Maybe another one, and this is just a bit of practical advice, is finding that side hustle. Group fit. If you're a personal trainer, group fitness, people sometimes are like, I don't know, that's not my thing, right? That was a huge game changer for me, because group fitness, if you work for a company or even start your own, is one of the few times where you're going to have income you can count on, where you're like, okay, I know exactly how much I'm going to make every month from this job, and it changed things a lot for me. I used to call boot camp, when I was a boot camp instructor, I used to say to my friends and roommates when I lived in Toronto, I'd be like, I'm going to pay the rent, which was true, because the money I made was exactly what my rent was. So I was like, okay, I have rent in the bank. Everything else is good. I mean, I've got food. I'm good to go. I was just, single guy at the time, so it was pretty easy that way. But yeah, it relaxed everything. Every time I sat down for a consultation, I was like, you don't need this to live. Whereas opposed to, if this person doesn't buy my personal training,
No,
I'm
I
going to
hear ya.
be
We've all
evicted,
been there.
right? So your desperation, they can it's coming off you like stink, right? They can smell it. Your desperation goes away, and you can actually, communicate, hey, no, I do think I'm a great trainer, and here's a couple of the things I can do for you uh,
Mhm.
as a trainer. So yeah, I guess that's my all over the place.
No,
No.
I think it's good advice. And I think it's something, kind of listening to you speak and, relaying it back to that question is, I think this is something that if you are new, that you can immediately begin to structure. Like, look at your week. How many clients do you want, or how many sessions do you want a week? Like, realistically.
Yep.
Then do you want to add in group fitness or team training, right? Like a small group. How many hours do you want for that? How many hours are you then going to assign to actually program that stuff? Because you don't just turn up and it happens.
Mhm.
Hopefully you don't. And then and then time for yourself. So I think if we start those habits while you have the time and you're being patient, like you said, Trevor, like it doesn't just happen, but if you can kind of carve out your own path, your own destiny, maybe not from day one, but certainly, near the very beginning, I think it does leave you space to try multiple ways to build your business almost immediately, rather than feeling burnt out and then, oh yeah, I should do this and I should do that. And then you feel like your life is gonna explode, right? Which is, I think, is the point we get to. So maybe think about diversifying earlier, would be a good little tidbit. And it's okay if you don't want to diversify as well. I'm just going to kind of put that out there too,
Yeah.
right? But, if we're looking at, like you said, a bit of a side hustle, multiple revenue streams, and not having all your eggs in one basket, then it's not a bad idea.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
oh, sorry, Gareth, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say a couple of things that I think are important to note on that as well is that we're kind of talking group fitness. So we've mentioned boot camp, group fitness classes, etc. I think what it's important to remember is, as a trainer, is your group is, like you said, an opportunity to pay the rent. Or if you're a trainer, you got to look at it as, I could have multiple people in front of me in this same hour, charge them less, but make more for the hour. So if you're looking at the amount of hours I need to make the amount of money. However, you might be like cringing if you're listening and you love training one-to-one. I don't want to train a group of people. But listen, you can teach a room of people anything. You can teach a group of people out. It doesn't have to be a boot camp. It doesn't have to be, a group fitness class. If the thought of moving to music scares you and you don't want to do that, or whatever it might be, is, could you get all your people together once a week, all of your like high ticket clients together once a week, to teach them a mobility session where you open it up and they bring their friends along? Suddenly you're in front of 20 people, 10 of which aren't your clients, what could be. So it's also paid. You're getting paid to market to people. They're paying money for you to market your services to them. So this is really, really important. And this is where I think we miss it as trainers that don't want to do group, and I'm doing bunny ear quotes, but group training. Just think
Yeah.
about what you can deliver in that. Can you do a seminar? Can you do a talk? Could you do a, I don't know, some sort of challenge or something where you've got everybody together? So there's so many ways that we can do that. And like I said, you're getting paid to market yourself. Like that doesn't exist anywhere in the world, as far as I know. But this is an opportunity to do it.
Yeah, I think absolutely. I mean, anytime you can diversify within that same client base, sure. Yeah, I think the other thing that is a benefit for it was personally for me is when you do group fitness, you are seeing a lot of clients. So when I'm trying to teach how to teach new trainers how to deal with movement problems, mobility issues, group fitness is great because you just got you'll have, I mean, if you've got, say you're like doing a full day of group fitness, how many people are going to come through there, right? Maybe 40 to even 100 people, depending on the gym, right? So you're just watching people move all day. So for me, for somebody like me, I'm obsessed with movement. So I'm just, oh, that person's knee does this little thing. That person's foot does that. What does that mean? And so you get a pretty good continuing ed course just sitting there and just getting case study after case study, which will, hopefully sharpen your toolkit as well for personal training, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. I forgot, Nikki, too. You asked me about like scheduling in continuing ed, which I think is actually a really good, not a bad subject to bring up for new trainers. Because I have seen this a few times where new trainers will come in and they're like, okay, I got to do every other continuing education course in the book. Like, I got to make sure I know how to do kettlebell, TRX, I know how to do Olympic lifting, powerlifting, all these things. First off, I mean, that's tough on the wallet, right? That's expensive. And I think with Gareth, what you were saying, experience is still the best teacher. So if you do want to learn quickly, obviously going out, trying to, all the stuff we've been saying, shadowing or, just trying to get a job at a gym, all of that skill set. Little hacks though, if you are on a budget, for me personally, I used to go and do like intros to gyms. Like I remember in 20, so I, yeah, 20, it would have been 2012, 2013 around there. Um, everybody, I just remember all my fitness colleagues were talking about CrossFit like it was the devil. They're like, have you heard about CrossFit? It's coming. I mean, people are dying from CrossFit. They're getting all kinds of stuff. They're hurting their backs and all the stuff's happening. I was like, oh, really? I never even heard about it. And they're like, oh, it's awful. It's just terrible. And it's getting more popular. So what are we going to do? And I said, I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to go find out as much as I can about it. So I went to a CrossFit gym and I got, their $50 1 month introductory offer, right? Just to try it out. Man, that's a pretty cheap course. A month of training. Did it undercover. If you're going to do it, that's my advice. Always do those types of things undercover, because if you tell them you're a trainer, they're either going to not give you any tips on how to move, or they're going to give you they're going to like pick on you, right? So I always do it undercover. And I went, and man, that launched me down. That taught me a whole bunch of different things. The coaches were they perfect? No. But, I think it's Bruce Lee, he says, take what is useful, throw away what is not, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I got from that experience. So, and then same thing, go to a yoga studio. Oh, 2 weeks and you do as many classes as you want. All right. I have ripped off so much from yogi. Brilliant, right? I'm just like, oh my God, that is really, really smart stuff. I like almost feel like I have my little pen hidden under my yoga mat with my pad. I'm, holy cow, you guys are brilliant getting down those cues and then of course if you meet other trainers, just saying, hey, want to work out together, and learn from them. So yeah, those scheduling in, that should be part, maybe after a year or so, start thinking about doing some formal certifications, but don't blow your tiny little budget you have at the beginning on your business on too many
Yeah.
things. If you're rich, go for it. But
That's such great advice, and I actually hire within the fitness industry as well. And, know that as a recruiter, You could have all the smarts, you could have all the certifications, you can have, all of those, the shiny gold star approach. But if you can't talk to people and you're not very nice, I'm not going to hire you, right? So remember that too. There is absolute merit in working the gym floor, knowing how to talk to people, push people's buttons the good way and the bad way, right? Like you gotta be able to do all of it. Just know how to move within that environment, conduct yourself in that environment, be a professional, and the education will come. I remember very clearly a a mentor of mine saying, nobody's going to finish your class and say to you, wow, you do really great squats, or wow, your technical cues were perfect. No, they're going to say your class was so much fun. I felt empowered, or you're really funny, or I really enjoy your energy and enthusiasm. So if we can nail that stuff that makes us human, that stuff that makes people want to come to you, that's then going to give you time, like you said, to then look at other ways that you can increase your knowledge and education. So don't be too quick to think it's all about the grades and the pieces of paper. It's actually, in our industry, a lot about how you communicate and connect with people.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We got to learn that. And that's a big thing, I believe, in the industry. We've got to teach communication skills at the early stages more often, because that's so important. I actually remember this was 20, maybe 15 years ago, maybe a bit longer. I went to an interview at a high-end health club in the UK. And when I turned up, the guy kind of chatted to me for 5 minutes and he said, okay, so, and he said to me, make sure you wear your fitness clothing, do whatever kind of thing. I was like, oh, he's going to get me to take him through an assessment or something. Cool. I was ready. Like I skilled up on it. He went, all right, well, we've had a chat for 5 minutes. He said, we booked in an hour. So off you go. I was like, sorry. He's like, off you go on the gym floor. Here's a name tag, like, generic name tag, just with the company. He's like, off you go. Just go talk to the members. And he just sat there and watched me for 55 minutes, walk around the gym and talk to people. And he's like, oh, I don't care. He's like, I have no interest. He's like, and ever since that day, after I actually never ended up taking that job, but
did you get the job though?
I did get it.
Did? Oh, yay, way to go.
So yeah, it was an ability to show how you communicate with people. And ever since that, when I went into management roles and I hired, that was always something I'd say. And I was honest with people. I said to them, I can't teach you your personality. I can't teach you how to have a personality. You have a personality, and like Nicky said, you can't communicate with people. And it doesn't have to be a certain type of personality. You're whatever you are, but just be you. If you can do that, we can teach you the rest. No one expects you to be perfect. And I believe there's a lot to be said for the old school, like, weight room assistant job, where you go around and literally you put the weights away and you clean down the kit, and probably big space for that right now in the world we're living in, but cleaning the gym, but just being out there and being able to talk to people, because that's where you learn the skills that you will need later in your career that I think we skip over in the industry.
Yeah, I remember somebody, I was joking around, but I had a course participant say to me once, they're like, is there any courses, like classes you would absolutely recommend for the fitness industry? And I said, yeah, go down to Peter Street in Toronto to Second City and take an improv class, and you will learn some real valuable stuff. I remember doing that years ago, going through, and I was right at the beginning of becoming a personal trainer, and I ended up loving it. I ended up doing, like, they had letters. I think I went all the way to like level E or something like that, A through E. And I said, once you have, like, been in front of a crowd of like 60 people and pretend to be a chicken or whatever, nerves just, and so it applies. I mean, for group fitness or even personal training, whatever. But you learn what your body's communicating, what your posture's communicating, even your facial expression, what it's communicating. And yeah, it's amazing. You could walk around that gym and just, if you smile at everybody, right? Not creepy, right? We'll stay on. But if you smile at everybody, like, oh, that person seems like a friendly person. Because I think that one of the things that maybe this is a decent tip for folks as well, is that people have an expectation. Like in our course, I always get the participants, I say, all right, I want everybody to picture what a personal trainer looks like right now. What do they look like? And we all know lots of personal trainers. They don't look like me. They don't look like you and you guys either, right? In their mind, they think Arnold Schwarzenegger in a polo, right? And this cruel, boot camp instructor, like that was that movie Bridesmaids, where he's screaming at them. But that, I say, isn't it amazing though when they show up for their first session and you just take that expectation and flip it right on its head? I'm 2 minutes in, I'm joking around about Star Wars and all this nerdy Dungeons and Dragons stuff, and they're like, "Holy cow, are you sure you're a personal trainer?" But we connect on that level, right? Especially if they're that type too, right? They're like, "Oh my God, I can't believe that this is something you didn't play football all through school." No, I never touched a football. Those types of things. So I think being able to play with those expectations is huge for our clients, and that's how I at least connect with people. I think, what are they expecting? What am I going to give them? And that kind of that's worked out well, anyways, on that end. Sometimes they want me to be a former football player, though, through like, hey, I wanted Arnold Schwarzenegger in a polo, and I'm like, all right, go over to that guy over there.
You know what? That's where the abundance mindset comes in, when you just go, okay, then, and you just shift them off to someone else, and you say there'll be another player. There's like 8 billion people on the planet. There's another client for you somewhere. Yeah. So with the obviously we've been talking about education and that next kind of step, and we've obviously given all of our views on those, what we build as skills. However, I do hear that if you are a new trainer and you've done your PTS and you're in an industry, that troubleshooting movement is a really key skill that we need to learn. So, and it's so happens that you have an amazing CEC course that covers exactly that. So I'd love you to share a little bit about that now, and obviously just share a little bit about, the education side of your business and where people can connect with you for that sort of stuff.
Sure. Yeah. I love me a good shameless plug, as I always say. My CEC course is a 1-day workshop. It's basically the whole premise behind it is it's for personal trainers, but it's probably the most useful in a group setting, only because the whole premise behind it is being able to help people with movement issues about as effectively as a personal trainer in a group setting. So the whole idea is sort of streamlining your efficiency. So the history of the course was, when I started doing group fitness, I was like so overwhelmed by, looking across the room and, 6 different people, and they're all having an issue with the way they squat or whatever, lunge or whatever, and not being fast enough to actually make any type of effective change for them. And of course, the tough side of that is people kind of do give it a bad name. They say like, oh, those group instructors just give up, and they say, okay, just do it wrong, right? And personal trainers have been known to do that too, right? It's too hard to fix your thing, so just do it wrong, which is, for an obsessive person like me, just not going to cut it, right? So the whole idea is being able to be effective with your cues and your mobilizations. So I gave you a toolkit to basically be able to be really, really efficient at fixing people's movement to the best of your ability, like in session, and then all the corrective exercise piece. Not as in depth as like a physiotherapist. And so far it's been good for kind of gym owners are loving it, because it just raises the value of the product, especially in something like a group class. Again, there's that expectation, right? You show up to a group class, you kind of expect it to be not really noticed. You do your thing, you maybe leave. In this case, you get adjusted, you get, good cues for your movement, and then afterwards, be able to prescribe homework or stuff they can do in their warm up and all that stuff. So it's a more of a connection piece. The idea though is that if you've ever looked at like a mobility textbook, they're huge, and I have a terrible memory. So that's the whole premise of the course, is that I can't rely on my memory. I can only rely on my instincts. So that's what we workshop all day, is workshopping, improving our instincts on the floor to say, this is an issue and this is why it's an issue. Oh, you guys froze there for a second. Okay, I think we're okay. So anyways, that's the premise of the course. We have one coming up February 25th. I'll be posting those dates, some more dates as well. My Instagram, Offbeat Trainer, or my business Instagram, Offbeat Fitness Education, or offbeatfitness.com. Is all that info there.
Nice.
Yeah, that's great. That sounds really, really interesting. And definitely, like you said, that next step for once you understand the principles of movement and you've got people moving, what do you do then? So this is really great. And I like that it's not just for personal trainers. You're right. You know, in a group setting, and maybe not so much now because of COVID, but back in the day when there was 50 people in front of you, how do you manage that? And I've been guilty of it too. There's only so many cues that you can give before you've got to then move on to the next person. So how you can manage that, I think, is a valuable skill, whether you're group fitness or personal training, or go across the two. So thank you for giving some insight into that, Trevor.
Oh, thank you.
And thank you for speaking to us today. The fitness industry, a career in the fitness industry, isn't necessarily very easy. And you know what? This industry does sometimes get a bad rap for, high attrition and, people coming in thinking it's a good idea. They don't make their $1 million in the first month, right? And then they leave. But it's also an industry where you can be so creative. So I want to come back to, one of the first things you said, which was be patient, take your time. You don't have to do all your courses in 5 minutes. Sit back, plan out, who you want to be in this industry, get started, and then begin to diversify through different continuing education courses. Maybe you go into a different stream. Maybe you do personal training, group fitness, or maybe you go into sales and management. Who knows? But, don't be in too much of a rush in and out before you've even explored it. Be curious, and trust me, from my own personal journey, there's so much opportunity to explore and really figure out where you sit, and here I am 20 years later, still in a career that I enjoy. Right. In the fitness industry. And, each and every one of us, like the three of us here, we are actually weird, magical unicorns. There aren't that many, right? There aren't that many of us. But this is something that, I'm really passionate about changing. And I can tell that you are as well. And you too, Gareth. So, I'm really hopeful that what we've spoken about today may, lengthen somebody's career in our industry.
Yeah, and if I could just speak to that really quick too, I think it's just like any business, it is really tough. And I always throw it to my students, so I'll throw this out to your listeners as well. When you come into a new business, you always need like at least you need a guy, right? Is what I always say. So I always say, I'm a guy now, right? So reach out to the guy And so same with your listeners. I always say, don't be a stranger. You can email me, reach out, and I will email it. Sometimes it takes me a while, but I will email you back. Everything from, do I need a permit to do this, or do I little pieces of advice or anything like that? Because I love that part of this job. I love helping people, and I love newbies. So yeah, absolutely reach out to me
Nice.
for that. Yeah.
Love it. Well, there's lots of people that are going to appreciate that in their journey. As Trevor mentioned, you can check out all the course dates. Everything is up to. It will also be in the show notes, so you'll be able to just literally click on there, and you'll be able to check out everything, along with finding out more information about the Nock Academy, everything we're doing, finding the back catalog of the episodes. Anything you need. I'm going to finish by saying, Trevor, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate you and your time today. Everyone listening to the show, we appreciate you tuning in, because every single listen is impactful to us. And we hope that if you got something today from the show, that you can share it with someone you love and care about, and just spread the message even further so someone else can take some great takeaways as well. We look forward to having you join us for the next episode. We'll catch you then.
Thanks, guys.